Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and just to be on the safe side, hello. It's Lynn here from the Learn English Network, and fingers crossed you can hear me because my microphone on my headset broke. So I'm using a desk microphone, and if you hear any funny noises, it's probably my mouse moving across the desk. I apologise in advance. So let's see what's been going on in live chat this week. We start with Zeb, who said, "Hi there. It seems that your teacher couldn't figure it out when I said last week that tot is a cluey one. In Australia, they would probably say a cluey bugger. It means that tot is resourceful and quick on the uptake. The definition in the Urban Dictionary is cluey, adjective, a person who is clever, mentally quick and original. Also a person who is very perceptive, particularly in making smart remarks. We'd say smart aleck in the UK, but then that has a negative connotation. We don't like clever people in the UK. We've got lots of words that say too clever, so sharp he'll cut himself, too quick for his own good, too clever for his own good, all sorts of things that would make clever people feel, oh, I'd better not be too smart. And I replied, that must be Australian lingo, you cluey thing, you. Okay, so it's not in British English, not used much yet, but once it gets into the Urban Dictionary, and do be careful, if you go to the Urban Dictionary, there are some words in there that you really don't want to use in polite company, and it's probably going to make its way into the mainstream at some point. Then Ha came along and said, hi, how to join in live chat. So Ha, hi, capital H, and then you start a new sentence for your question. So it would be capital H for how to join, and I wouldn't say how to join in live chat, I'd just say how to join live chat. I replied, you just did, Ha, and Zeb replied, what do you mean? And Ha came back and said, it might be a little difficult to use this. So again, Ha, it, first word of the sentence, capital I, and then don't forget to end your sentences with the correct punctuation. In this case, it's a statement, so a full stop. And I wrote, hi Ha, it's not difficult, it's like falling off a log. And Zeb then went, or like falling off the bottom step. Zeb also replied directly to Ha and said, hi Ha, lol, might be like every time you enter a new word. Okay. And I replied, I know why you laughed, Zeb. You imagined me reading this out next week. Cruel. And Zeb replied, can't wait. Okay, so hi Ha, where are you, Ha? It's not difficult, okay, but you can make it difficult if you wish to, like most things in life. Zeb then started a thread aimed at Priyanka, saying, could you tell me how you sneeze in your language? And Priyanka replied, are you there, Zeb? And it's quite okay to write, are you there, comma, Zeb, question mark, okay? Because the way you wrote it, Priyanka, it would be, are you there, Zeb? But if you included her name in the question, it would be, are you there, Zeb? And that would make more sense, really, wouldn't it? Priyanka then replied to the question, I am Indian, I go, achi. Ha-ah-chi. Was it ah-chi? Priyanka then said, it is laughed by me. I think you mean I'm laughing. Okay. And then Zeb then said, you mean it makes you laugh, don't you? It's going to be even more fun if more people add to the sneezing vocab bank. Can't wait. Priyanka then said, today I have heard LEN Live Chat. Now I understand its pronunciation some. Maybe possible hearing again and again. My hearing ability is improved. Okay, brilliant, Priyanka. You've got it. By George, I think she's got it. So it is about listening, reading, and then, yes, you have to listen again sometimes, but eventually you'll find you'll get it first time, and that's when you know you're making progress. I don't slow down for this, because I figure you've got most of the words in front of you, so you kind of do have to catch up. But I have got a clear speaking voice, so eventually you'll get used to my sort of way of speaking, the speed and intonation, and it will help, honestly. So, Priyanka, you would say, today I listened to LEN Live Chat. Now I understand the pronunciation a bit better. It might be possible, if I listen again and again, that my hearing ability will improve. Okay? And Zeb then said, it means to me that you enjoyed it. That is good news. Yeah, me too, Zeb. And Priyanka went, good morning, Zeb. How are you? So in your good morning, the G would be capital and the M not. Okay? And Zeb, because it's her name, even though she doesn't capitalise it in discuss, Zeb would be also with a capital X. Zeb replied to Priyanka, I feel great, Priyanka. I'm surprised that you haven't answered Honey's question to you. And Priyanka then didn't answer that question. She just went, are you a early bird? Okay, so early starts with an E, and so the you wouldn't use a early bird, you'd use an early bird, the article an, yeah? So you'd say, are you an early bird? Yep, said Zeb, I like mornings. When I get up early, then I have some time for myself before going to work. Yeah, I agree. I can't say that I'm a morning person, but I do appreciate getting up a little early and having some time to do yoga, go for a walk with the dog, and just relax, have a coffee before I actually start working. So I'm with you, Zeb. What do you do work? Asked Priyanka. Okay, we'd understand what you meant by that, Priyanka, but you could just write, and I always say kiss, keep it short and simple. What you can write is, what do you do? And when you hear what do you do, it means what's your job, yeah? So unless you meant what responsibilities Zeb has at work, and then it would be, what do you do at work, okay? Anyhow, Zeb replied, to get to know my job, you'll have to read my answer to Ha. He also asked me, and I've just replied. Priyanka then said, okay, may be possible that you tell me some new words. So, okay, if it's going to be the short form, capital O, capital K, or you write it out in full, capital O, K-A-Y, then you put in a comma, so then the may wouldn't be capitalised. You only capitalise the first letter in a new sentence, and a comma doesn't make a new sentence. So it would be small m, may be possible. No. Could you tell me some new words? Okay, that's what you'd ask. Okay, so could you tell me some new words? And Zeb then, do you mean that you want me to make up words? And Priyanka replied, I mean to say that like you told me early birds, and you tell me some new words which my vocab is increased. Okay. There I think you meant to say, I meant to say, as you said earlier, with early birds, and then you tell me some new words and my vocabulary increases. Zeb then said, some people said that I could be a bot. What do you think? Could it be true? Priyanka went, bot means? And there you'd put a question mark, Priyanka. Zeb then said, you haven't finished your centre, Priyanka. Can you complete it? Ha ha! Actually, I haven't seen Honey's question yesterday, so I answered today. So, yesterday, it's finished, you can't go back. So, you'd say, actually, I didn't see Honey's question yesterday, so I answered today, full stop. Good evening, Zeb, then Priyanka said later. I am back. And again, the evening could be written small letter E, okay? And Zeb, capital X, because it's her name in the forum. I'm back, full stop. Don't forget to end your sentences, Priyanka. Honey came in and said, hi, Priyanka, how are you? Where are you from? And Priyanka replied, hi, I'm from India. And you? Honey then said, yeah, me too, from India. Ooh. So ya is a bit sort of Sloane Ranger. People do say ya, but it tends to be German for yes with a J-A. And Y-A, it would sound a bit pretentious. So just say yes or yup or yeah, if you want to be very casual. So yes, I'm from India too. So not me too from India, I'm from India too. You are from which state, Priyanka? Okay, so which state are you from, Priyanka? And then end it with a question mark. My name is Jyoti. Okay, and then full stop. Always end your sentences with a piece of punctuation that matches what you're saying. Okay? Rango then popped in and said, hi all, I'm from Sweden. The Swedes do the sound achoo. But you spelt it U-U, whereas we'd be A-T-C-H-O-O. So that's good to know. Did I pronounce it correctly, Rango? That's the question. Hi, Rango, said Zeb. Do you say anything back to someone who goes, achoo? Good stuff, people. So if anybody else wants to join that thread and say, what do you say when you sneeze? How do you spell it? A sneeze in your language? That would be great. And in English, just to answer Zeb's question, if somebody goes, achoo, in English and sneezes, we say bless you. Or, believe it or not, we also say Gesundheit, which is German. But as you know, the British like to go around borrowing words we like from other languages. And so we would actually say Gesundheit, which means to your health or good health. Okay? Hashim popped in later and said, hello. Okay, there's no W on the end of hello, Hashim. It's just H-E-L-L-O. And if you're going to write it as a single word, it would be capital H and a full stop at the end. Yeah, we still use a full stop. Hello, Hashim, said Zeb. I'm collecting sneezing sounds. Could you tell me what's the sneezing sound in your country? Unfortunately, Hashim didn't want to play. Ha came back and said, hi all. Again, ha. Hi, good. You capitalised the H, but you need to finish it. It's a sentence. It's just a greeting, but you still need to finish it with a full stop. Or if you want to be sort of like, hi all, then you'd put an exclamation mark, okay? And then my favourite part of this live chat, I've been looking forward to this all week, and I think Zeb will probably know why. Ha popped in and said, hi Zeb, are you a human or a computer? So Zeb was a bit surprised at this, to be honest. And I was highly amused, and I replied, hi Zeb, are you a human or a computer? Ha ha ha, you just made my day. Roll on next Tuesday. Zeb replied, a bit huffily, I'm a human being, Ha. What makes you think that I could be a machine? And Aladdin came in and said, for me you looks like a machine, Zeb. For me you looks like a machine. Zeb is a Terminator, LOL. Okay, Aladdin, you'd say to me, or actually, to be more natural, you'd say, you look like a machine to me. Zeb is a Terminator. Zeb didn't like that. Replied to Aladdin, listen and understand. That Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop, ever, until you are dead. I think that's a quote from the Terminator movie, isn't it? Did I have to read that with a sort of Arnold Schwarzenegger voice? I'm not sure. And she also said, are you sure I'm a Terminator, Aladdin? Aladdin said, what I'm sure about it, you are a new Alice here. And Zeb said, that is a wake-up call for me, Aladdin. I now have to reinvent myself. Okay, so Aladdin, what I'm sure about it, you are a new Alice here. Okay, what you could say there is, what I'm sure of is that you are a new Alice here. And those who don't know it, Alice is a bot online who will talk to anybody but doesn't always make a lot of sense, which is not fair because Zeb usually makes sense. I'm going to say always, but I can't say always. I'm sorry, Zeb, but usually Zeb makes sense. Aladdin then replied to the wake-up call reply from Zeb. You already redeemed yourself, Zeb. Whatever you are, machine or human, you are the soul of this live chat. I agree, Aladdin. You're making me blush, said Zeb. Thank you for your words, Aladdin. April had to jump in as well and go, hee hee hee, because you always have an answer to everything, like a computer, Zeb. I told you so, lol. And then Sarah wanted to know, would it affect the Saturday quiz? Okay, you wouldn't say would it there, Sarah. You'd say will it affect, because it's in the future. Will it affect the Saturday? But then Zeb replied, she didn't say that I always have the right answer, Sarah. Priyanka popped in and said, hello Zeb, good afternoon. Priyanka, Zeb with a capital X because it's her name, okay, and good afternoon. Afternoon is one word, so the A would be small and the N would be small because they'd be joined together. AFTERNOON. Sarah then replied to Zeb, the computer always have a right answer as it is programmed to do so, unless it is affected by a virus. But you seem to have very powerful antivirus. Okay, so computers always have the right answer. Or you could say computers always have a correct answer, but the right answer, okay, as they are programmed to do so, unless they're affected by a virus, okay? So that's if you use computers. If you wanted to, you wouldn't say the computer, because what computer? You could also say a computer always has the right answer, as it's programmed to do so, unless it is affected by a virus. And then a comma, but you seem to have a very powerful antivirus. Zeb replied, have you ever heard... Oh, by the way, Zeb's antivirus can't be that good, because she had a stinking cold the other week when she was in Kitely, and she was sniffling and snuffling, so I don't think the antivirus works that well for her. Zeb replied, have you ever heard or encountered a BSOD, Sarah, which is the blue screen of death? And Sarah said, oh yes, but more than a decade ago, plus Zeb. Things are different now with all backups, etc. Okay, so Sarah, oh yes, but more than a decade ago. So decade is DECADE, which is, for those who don't know, a decade is 10 years. I think you were trying to use the at Zeb. Okay, it's not plus, that's Google Plus, it's at, the symbol at, okay? Things are different now with all, with backups, etc., or with all those backups, etc. Ha, said Zeb. Alas, I have as many problems with my magic box as a decade ago. Sarah said, that's a real issue, Zeb. You need to upgrade it. Have a backup and external hard drive. You can beat the blue screen of death, as Lynn beats the Monday blues. I mean, a cup of black coffee is sufficient to recharge your magic box. Okay. Again, not plus Zeb, it's at. So that's a real issue, Zeb. You need to upgrade it. Make a backup and use an external drive, and have an external hard drive. You can beat the blue screen of death, just like Lynn beats the Monday blues. That's a reference to Google Plus Hangouts, by the way. They're called Beat the Monday Blues, so just in case you were wondering what they're going on about. And then a cup of black coffee is sufficient to recharge your magic box. Okay. Well, if the magic box is the computer, I wouldn't recommend a cup of black coffee. Computers and black coffee do not mix. But if you mean your brain cells, oh yes. But I prefer cappuccino myself. Zeb then said, a backup of your system to be able to reset your computer if necessary. I feel like it downgrades me to be reduced to AI. Poor me. Okay, here you'd say, I feel it downgrades me to be reduced to an AI. Poor me. Because we say an AI, an artificial intelligence. Anyway, if Lynn ever makes up a badge about being identified to a computer, she'll have to have it first. Thanks for that, Zeb. So you'd say, if Lynn ever makes a badge about being identified as a computer, she'll have to have it first. This is true. Many people have asked me if I'm a computer. Ha! I don't care. I think computers are cool. They've got better memory than me. Poor compensation indeed, and not very fair for Lynn. Gosh, were you backtracking there, Zeb? You can edit these things, you know. Joe then joined us, João Paulo Correa, okay? And going completely off topic, maybe because he's thinking not an AI, not a computer. I have my own imagined Lynn in my head. And he wrote, I would like to imagine Lynn as a handsome brunette with at least 1,60 metres and brown-green eyes, without disrespect, but I just couldn't help myself. So, you wouldn't say I would like to imagine Lynn. You just say I imagine Lynn as... handsome brunette. You can call women handsome, but generally a good-looking brunette or a beautiful brunette, maybe. And then with at least, I'd put at least 5'6" tall. Okay, I still think in feet and inches when it comes to height. We don't say with at least that. Yeah, you just say I am 5'6" tall, and brown green eyes, or what we call hazel eyes. Without disrespect, I just couldn't help myself. Well, there's no disrespect in any of that, to be honest. I'll tell you if you're being disrespectful. Well, your post will disappear if you're disrespectful. Zeb replied, lovely fantasy. As for me, I picture her as a muddy bunny. That's very funny, said Joe. I laughed when I read your comment. Oh no, he wrote, I laughed when I read you comment. So that should be when I read your comment, Y-O-U-R. Could you please try to explain why? I bet in how the explanation itself must be exhilarating. Okay, I bet that the explanation itself must be exhilarating. I was thinking the other day that I go too often to the dictionary and decided that while I'm here I will not correct myself again, or the point of being here will lose all interest. Exactly, Joe. So, I was thinking the other day that I use the dictionary too much and decided that while I'm here I won't correct myself again, or the point of being here will lose itself. Conclusion: if I'm here to learn, then it's all right to make mistakes, and this way I'll be able to give our lovely teacher a chance to teach something. Have you noticed I don't teach much, by the way? I've noticed that I know the sound of certain words, but I don't know how to write them. What I usually do is to copy the text to the application word, set the language to English UK, and consequently find errors and correct them. Or I go to a dictionary and choose the word that fits better with the spoken word in my head and the intended meaning. Very good. I've always liked English a lot and tried to reach fluency, either in grammar terms or in accent. I wouldn't quite put it that way. I'd say more like I've always liked English, capital E, a lot, and have tried to become fluent. Then I wouldn't mention the grammar on the accent because it kind of goes in with fluency, okay? I suppose it's due to the Portuguese media flood of content in English. Oh, really? Okay, so Portuguese capital P, okay, and English capital E. Okay, so I suppose it's due to the flood of media in Portugal, I would say, of English content, okay? I remember that I was in primary school and I already tried singing in English despite the fact that I didn't know the language. Yay, excellent. Okay, I remember that when I was in primary school, I tried singing in English, again capital E, despite the fact that I didn't know the language. Nowadays, I'm a long-term unemployed man and face the fact that knowing English isn't a big deal anymore, any longer. So, nowadays, I've been unemployed for a long time and face the fact of knowing that English isn't such a big deal. For the employers, simply isn't enough that one knows a language. You have to be fluent, and the knowledge and fluence of other languages also demanded. That's very true. So, not for the employers. For employers, it simply isn't enough that one knows a language. You have to be fluent, and the knowledge and fluency of other language is also demanded. Sometimes they want someone that is also fluent in French, but also in German, Spanish, or even Russian. It makes me sad that they want most of the time more than what I can give. Okay, it makes me sad that they want more than I can give most of the time. I mean, I know a bit of French, but I only had 3 years of learning between the 7th and 9th grade of high school. Which happened 29 years ago. So I know a bit of French, but I only learnt for 3 years between the 7th and 9th grade of high school, which was 29 years ago. Okay, so 9th is N-I-N-T-H, there's no E in the middle. Okay, when somebody is speaking French, I think that depending on the occasions, I can either understand the whole content or just part of the content. But if I'm required to speak or write, it becomes extremely difficult, mainly to the lack of vocabulary. Okay, so here I can either understand all the content, or I can either understand everything or just part of it. But if I'm required to speak or write, it becomes extremely difficult, mainly due to lack of vocabulary. In what regards to German, I know a few words and I'm able to create a few basic sentences. But if a German person would talk to me, I would understand at the best chance 1 or 2 words from the whole conversation, never mentioning the content, to which I would be completely oblivious to. Okay, here, regarding German, I know a few words and I'm able to create a few basic sentences. But if a German person were to talk to me, I would only understand at best 1 or 2 words from the whole conversation, not mentioning the content, to which I would be completely oblivious, okay? And which is W-H-I-C-H. You need an H in there, okay? You make a very good point, Joe. A lot of employers are extremely, I guess because there's so many unemployed people at the moment with the recession, that they're totally unfair on some of the demands they make. And good luck to them finding the right person. And sometimes those language demands are there just to keep down the number of applicants. It's a shame, but it's the way it is. I always say, if they won't give you a job, create a job. Yeah, make them want to work for you in the end. I know it's easier said than done. Okay, gosh, said Seb, are you writing your bio? I'll wait for the book to be released to read it. Cheeky. Joe said, what can I say? I like writing and I've been told that I have talent. Nevertheless, I never wrote a book. I never had something that would drive me to write with pleasure, and writing about myself or my family didn't seem a good idea because of the lack of privacy. Okay, good point, Joe. So I like writing and I've been told that I have talent. It's true, you do, okay? Nevertheless, I have never written a book. And the reason you say I've never written a book is it's not too late, okay? Everybody's got one book in them, you know, Joe. I never had something that would drive me to write with pleasure. I never had, well, I have again, because you're still alive, I've never had something to drive me to write. And writing about myself or my family doesn't seem like a good idea because of the lack of privacy. Okay. April then said, lol, please read it and tell me what it's all about in 5 lines, Zeb. She wants a summary. Oh, April, it's a good piece of text. You should have read it. Joe then said, I guess I'm not the only one to be lazy about reading stuff. Yeah, it's just as well I'm not, isn't it? I have in my possession documents with a total amount of about 300 pages and hardly started. Okay, so yeah, you wouldn't say I have in my... It's not wrong, I have in my possession, but it's a bit sort of legal English. I have some documents with about 300 pages that I've hardly started, okay? Again, you can still carry on reading them, so you say, I have hardly started them. Yeah, I haven't done it yet. Aladdin said, don't worry, Joe, I read your comment. Well done, Aladdin. Joe then said, thank you. Did you find mistakes? If so, could you correct me, please? Thank you. My best regards. So, question mark. Did you find mistakes? Good. And then, if so, could you correct me, please? Very good. My best regards? You can say that, but generally we leave the my off and just say best regards, like it's a letter, okay? We're here to chat with each other and have fun with English. This is our slogan. I read your comment and I understood your message, and that was an awesome for me. Okay, so I read your comment and I understood your message, and that was awesome for me. Or, and that was an awesome experience for me. You see the difference? Our mentor will correct it in Tuesday morning, on Tuesday morning, in the morning, but on Tuesday morning. You see the difference? That's awesome, mate, said Joe. Have you been to Australia, Joe? G'day, mate. So, from what country are you? Okay, very much your grammar there coming out. Perfect words, but you need to mix them up a bit to sound more English. What country are you from? Okay, I'm from Portugal, south. I live in the province called Alentejo. Oh, I don't know if that's correct, but anyway. I like the way Australians and British talk. Okay, I like the way Australians and British people talk. Australians, capital A, British, capital B. I find their accent quite interesting. As you noticed, I also like the Australian expression mate. Ah, I spotted that. Again, Australian, capital A. It sounds good in my ear. It sounds good to me. Okay. in my ear. You might have meant in my ear, but you wouldn't say that. Oh, I'd like a word in your ear, you might say. But other than that, we don't tend to mention it. Just it sounds good to me. Keep it short and simple. Besides, it's a friendly treatment. I'd just say it's a friendly greeting. It's something like what the Americans say when greeting each other like this. Take care, brother. Nobody says that to me, you know. And certainly the other person isn't necessarily a brother. In fact, never is, or almost never. Yeah, bro. They often say it's short, bro. So, besides, it's friendly. It's something like what the Americans say. Yeah, you can say that. Seeing it written, it's a bit too informal. It's similar to what Americans say, capital A for Americans, when greeting each other like this: "Take care, brother." And certainly no. The other person isn't necessarily a brother. In fact, never is, or almost never. Zeb replied to Joe, "Documents, not a book? This sounds like serious and dry stuff that you have to read." And then she wrote to April, "I can sum it up in one line, April. Joe is in love with your teacher." That's not fair. That's like being back at school, Zeb. Shame on you. But Joe might not have chosen the best strategy to win her heart. "You know what to do, Joe," said April. "It's Valentine's Day." Oh, I missed this one. Oh, of course, I was too busy celebrating Valentine's Day with my husband. Just want to put that one in there. So Joe said, "You're funny. I could be in love with someone I don't know." In fact, I'm not even sure if Lynn is a man or a woman. And anyway, that's not relevant. We are only joking, exactly, and live light years away from each other. Besides, the purpose of being here is to learn English, right? Okay, perfect, but you need to capitalise English. Always a capital E. "Hopefully our teacher will read my text and correct me of my mistakes. For that I may learn something and feel that my time spent here was worthwhile." So hopefully our teacher will read my text and correct my mistakes. That way I may learn something and feel that my time spent here was worthwhile. Oh, I hope so, Joe. In fact, time spent doing, and as you said, having fun and joking around is one of the best ways to embed that English that you already know in your head and make it available a little bit quicker next time. "It makes me feel like I shouldn't chat with you," said Zeb, "because I'm wasting your time." Ouch! Joe defended himself. "I didn't mean to offend anyone. It slipped me up because I've been upset due to issues related with my private life. I hope you forgive me." So, difficult one. "I didn't mean to offend anyone" is perfect. "I slipped up because I've been upset lately." That's all you need to say. You don't have to go into too much. In fact, you don't even have to say that. You can just say, "I didn't mean to offend anyone." People will understand. "I hope you forgive me." I think Zeb forgives you. Zeb said, "It wasn't the nicest person in my reply to you." Oh, no, "I wasn't the nicest person in my reply to you, was I?" And then you need a question mark. And I agree. I said it was like being back at school. "So you don't believe in love at first sight?" Joe replied, "Tell the truth. I didn't quite understand what you meant. But anyway, who am I to judge you? I am no holy man." "Answering your second question, I simply don't believe in love. Never happened to me, and I don't believe that it ever will." And Zeb went, "How sad." Okay, so "I simply don't believe in love. It's never happened to me, and I don't believe that it ever will." Never say never, Joe. Joe replied to Zeb's "How sad," "Quite sad indeed. I try not to think much about it, but when I do, sadness hits me. There's nothing like keeping myself active to maintain my mental health. Today I've been carrying wood to a storage facility. It was hard work. As soon as I leave the computer, I'm going to take a bath. I certainly need one." Oh, TMI, Joe. Too much information. "Was it firewood?" said Zeb. "Yes," said Joe. "The family has a small farm, and we need the firewood for our wood-burning stove. It's the pruning season, and the branches that are removed are cut in small pieces in order to fit in the stove. Of course that we burn the one that is kept in the barn since other winters, considering it's already dry." Okay, perfect up to then. You'd say, of course, we only burn the ones that have been stored in the barn in previous winters, considering that is already dry. "How long do you have to leave? How long do you leave wood to dry before using it?" said Zeb. Approximately 1 year, said Joe. I cut it in the winter, and only in the following winter I can use it. So, I cut it in the winter and can only use it the following winter. The summer here is very hot and dry, with temperatures reaching near 40 degrees centigrade. Therefore, I can count on the summer for an effective process. So, I wouldn't say the summer here is, because you're saying it generally, it's the general weather. So summers here are very dry. Summers here are very hot and dry, with temperatures reaching nearly 40 degrees centigrade, which dries everything else. Which dries everything out nicely. Okay. Zeb then said, I read a bit about wood seasoning yesterday. I was quite surprised to read that firewood must have less than 20% of water to be ready to burn. No wonder that it may take a full year for it to dry. It will certainly take at least a full year to dry, if not more, said Joe. I never paid a lot of attention to that because we still have wood that was cut a few years ago. I remember saying to my brother not long ago, the wood is already dry? And he answered me, of course, one summer has gone over it. Okay, you wouldn't say one summer has gone over it. One summer's gone by already, or it's more than a summer, it's more than a year old, maybe would be better. This memory is related to a conversation that happened somewhere between December and the present time. Thus, it's quite reasonable to find that a year was needed to season the wood. Okay. It would be nice if the forest would give a reasonable income. We have a little bit of forest, maybe 20 hectares, and the entrepreneurs that buy us the wood only give us €5 a tree, cork oaks and pine trees, and never more than that. Okay. The customers, the customers who buy the wood from us only give us €5 a tree, cork, oak and pine trees, and never more than that. Some trees are huge, weighing several tons, and by selling them by that price for me is the same thing than giving them the wood. Okay. Some trees are huge and weigh over several tons, and selling them at that price for me is the same thing as giving them the wood. We sell the trees because of the diseases, plagues that have killed thousands of pine trees and hundreds of cork oaks. The first before they get sick and the second ones when they die. Okay. We have to sell the trees because of the diseases and plagues that have killed thousands of pine trees and hundreds of cork oaks. The first ones before they get sick and the second ones when they die. That's so sad. What sort of equipment does this company use to log the trees you sell to them? I can just imagine a bunch of men with axes and chainsaws and a long truck. And Jay's not replied to that one yet because that was today. So let's see, what else have we got? Let's see, I'll be interested to see what happens to the trees. And that all started off with are you a computer or a human? Anyhow, Ali Verdi came along and said hi, and Zeb replied, hi Ali, what's cooking? And Awana came along and said, I've just listened to the broadcast and I have to thank you, Lynn, that you have mentioned me too in it. Okay, so I've just listened to the broadcast and I have to thank you, Lynn, that you mentioned me in it. Okay, I didn't disappeared. I only that I was a little more busy than usual. So I haven't disappeared. I've just been a little more busy than usual. You can't scary anyone. You can't scare anyone. Oh, you'd be surprised. Even if I was in invisible modality, I always listened to the broadcast. Okay. Even if I'm being invisible, I always listen to the broadcast. I will try to join you all again because it's a great pleasure to be in this place with a nice people. Okay. I'll try to join you all again because it's a great pleasure to be in this place with nice people. A nice person, nice people. Hello, Awana. Come back soon, said Zeb. Awana said, hello, Zeb. I'm back now. Nice to see you again. I really can't resist too much time away from your conversations. Okay. I really can't spend too much time away from your conversations, or I really can't resist coming back to your conversations. Okay, hearing your conversations on broadcast, the Lynn's laugh and all the rest, made me try much more to come back. Okay, hearing your conversations in the broadcast and Lynn's laugh, I don't know what you mean by that, but I'm glad you I hope you like it, and all the rest, made me try to come much more to come back. Made me want to come back again. Okay. Welcome back, Awana, said Aladdin. Thank you, Aladdin. I'm happy to be back, said Awana. Yes, I agree. The Lynn's laugh is a must-heard, said Zeb. Okay, yes, I agree. Lynn's laugh is a must-hear. Okay, we have must-sees and must-hears. A must-heard? No, a must-hear. I'm not sure if I am a must-hear, but I'm glad you like it. Just make me laugh more, then you'll hear it more. Priyanka said, hello Zeb, how are you? And hey, well done Priyanka. Just remember to capitalise Zeb. Just get into the habit of capitalising people's names, okay? Thank you for you, good day Priyanka. Thank you for your good day Priyanka, but you and I probably sound impolite. See, here is a discussion started by Awana, and suddenly you and I are jumping in, focusing on me and you. We are just ignoring the topic of this conversation, and worse, the people around us. Oops, sorry, Awana. Okay, and I think that's so important, Zeb. Well done. And if you look at the English tips, I've got some tips on how to join in forums, and it is go to the first discussion, keep it going, respect the discussion. If you want to start a new one, you just start a new one. But Zeb's quite right, don't ignore the people in there already. It's like walking into a room and cutting someone away from a conversation and ignoring the people they were talking to. You wouldn't do it in a party, I hope, or at work, so don't do it in a forum either. I mean, it's fine, Priyanka, you know Zeb, I know that, but get to know other people too. Yeah, we're all nice here, and anybody who isn't doesn't last long, I can assure you. I replied to Oana, glad to know you're okay, Oana. As I always say in the description for the recordings, created for you, inspired by you. And Oana said, thank you, Lynn. You're welcome, Oana. Awana also said, Lynn, I've just seen your post on Google+, and this made me think about what I really love today and for all the rest of my life. Okay, and this made me think about what I really love today and for the rest of my life. I love my kids, everyone who brings joy and happiness in my life, and I love the life, okay? I love the life, I love the life that I live, or just I love life. What about you guys? Happy Valentine's Day. And Zeb said, me too. And I don't forget to live for myself too. Oh, if you can't live for yourself, who can you live for? Priyanka went, hello, Zeb. So say hello to Oana too, Priyanka, okay? As before. Martab said hello to Priyanka. No replies there. I love my life and I try to love everything around me, I wrote. It all falls down when I see a cockroach, a tick or a housefly. I do try to love life, I really do, but I do have problems with certain animals and creatures. Creepy crawlies. Ooh. As spiders, I've managed to overcome that sort of revulsion. I think, oh, it's a spider, that's okay. But cockroaches and ticks, can't stand them. Joe said, I only saw a cockroach once in a street nearby. Luckily, we never had that problem at home. Okay, so I only saw a cockroach once in a street nearby. That's okay. But you could also say, because of this, you're not dead yet, you might see another one. I've only ever seen a cockroach once in a street nearby. Luckily, we never had that problem at home. Yeah, we haven't got them here, but I have been in places where they've been a problem. And when you see one, there are hundreds. They don't come in ones. You're making me itch. Then Joe said, as to regard to houseflies. Okay, as regards houseflies, I don't really care since I'm used to them. Now, ticks, I'm terrified of ticks. I've had nightmares with them. Ooh, how horrible for you. Okay, it would be better to say I've had nightmares about them, okay? Between the spring and the autumn, there are many around here, especially where there are cattle, and in that season, I avoid going to certain places. Okay, I'd say between spring and autumn, there are many around here, especially where there are cattle. And in those seasons, I avoid going to certain places, okay? Yeah, they are really revolting things. And Oana wasn't the only one to mention Valentine's Day. Zeb popped in and said, not a rose, but a kiss for this Valentine's Day. Happiness is like a kiss. You must share it to enjoy it, which is from Bernard Meltzer. Happy Valentine's Day, guys. And Awana said, Happy Valentine's Day, Zeb. Big smiley from Zeb, and I said thank you, Zeb, and linked to YouTube, so about Valentine's Day, of course. Okay. And okay, Martab came in and said hi, and Zeb said hi, Martab. Unusual avatar, would you wish to be able to live all your life in your bed? I'm just trying to see what the avatar, my eyesight's not good, so I think it's a bed. It could be somebody slumped in bed. Yeah, don't spend your life in bed. That would be boring. Amatsu wrote, is anyone watching the Olympics? And I replied, Zeb replied first, actually. Weirdly enough, I've skipped all of the event so far. I've skipped the whole event so far, or I've skipped all of the events so far, because there are different events in the Olympics, okay? I seem to have lost interest in these world competition events and records. I think it's called growing up, Zeb. Oh no, if you enjoy the Olympics, please do, but it's not my cup of tea either. I replied, I managed to catch the sliding down a slope on a tea tray event. Sorry. I think it's called the luge, and a couple of ice hockey games, but that's about it. As you know, I'm not a big fan of watching sports. Yeah, it's a bit like reading books to learn English. I can't see the point. You might as well just do it. Write your own English. And I wrote good morning about an hour ago when I started doing the broadcast, and Alexi said, hi, for me it's already noon. Okay, so, is fine, and then a full stop. Hi, comma, for me it's already noon, full stop. Yeah, well, that's the joy of sort of these time zones, isn't it? I know people have different time zones, which is why in the broadcast I always say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, just to be on the safe side. And now, before I run out of time, I'm going to say goodbye. I hope the recording works okay. Fingers crossed. We'll see when we upload it to YouTube. And take care. And I look forward to seeing you around on the network. Bye.